Hi there, I'm Gabe Boulanger, and I wanted to talk about getting your teams much more productive and gaining some accountability with your administrative tasks. Now, in the description, I kind of mentioned my story where uh, I was finding that I was managing a lot of my tasks through different things, but mostly email. Sometimes tasks were slipping through the cracks, and I was hearing from customers or others saying, why didn't you do this yet? And I would have to go through my email, go to my staff's email, and it would turn into a whole time waster basically to figure out why we didn't do what we were supposed to do. So what I did is I found something that works much better. And what this tool does is it's very easy to use. It's very flexible, simple. Other people that you have working with you can figure out how to use it and set it up themselves. So the one that I prefer for this task, my administrative tasks, and there are many of them, is Monday.com. So if we look over in Monday.com on my computer here, what I've done is I wanted to just do it as a demo and go over a whole bunch of different aspects of Monday.com. Nothing too complicated, just enough to see the value for yourself and see how quick and easy it is to set up. So to start with for Monday.com, I wanted to talk about the main core of Monday.com. So when you first get Monday.com set up, you log into Monday.com, you set up a free account. That's what this is. This is a free account. Inside the free account, you're able to create what is called a board. So just assuming I didn't create any of these boards, you'd have this space. They give you a sample board to start out with. If you wanted to make your own, you just go new board, and then you have some choices here just to get started. New board items, you're good. You create the board, and then you have it up and running. So once you have the board, let's just go into one that I've created here called admin tasks. So when you have the board set up by Monday, or if you're making a new board, you have a few items in here, things like the date and the person or the owner. So let's go through each one. So this is the name of the item. This is the actual task or item that you're worried about working on. Now, this is what's called the person column. If you go to click here, you can easily add in the columns for things you'd like to add. Again, I'm using the free version here as a demo. If you don't see what you like in here, you can click more columns, and then there are a whole bunch of columns to use. So what I did there is I selected people. That column was in there. And then all I did is I clicked here and I chose to rename, and I changed this from people to owner. So what is this? Well, these are the members of Monday. So you can see it's fairly easy to just invite a new member to Monday. They don't have to be within your organization. They can be outside your organization. You just send an email, they get that email, they create a password, and now they're in your system. So you can have this for up to 2 people with the free version. Now, if you get onto the paid version, you can have many more users. So that's what we mean by owner here. So if we had another 2, 3, 4 people, we could select a different person as the owner. So that means this task, mail a check, the owner is me. Okay. But as I said before, if you just click in here, you can select another person when you have other people. So now we've assigned ownership to this task. So that's good. The status here, pretty straightforward. You can easily add a status just by saying just by typing in here, escalate. This kind of status might mean that you've escalated it to someone. So if we click in there, we have the status. But since this task is just new, assigned to me, the gray means hasn't been touched, but you can see there's all other types. Now, maybe one of the most important things here is the due date. So this is just a date column. You just add the date column and you specify the due date for the task. I'll get onto that a little later. Maybe these administrative tasks are related to a client, or maybe they aren't. If they aren't, if they're internal, I just usually leave them blank. And then we have this other cool part, which is files. So why can't we just have a OneDrive file that people can access and update in real time? And then this task is related to that one-time file. So you can see it could be a real computer file. It can be a lot of different things. What I usually use is I use from a link, and it's from the OneDrive file. So I create a link to that OneDrive file, and then it's in there. So you can see down here, that's exactly what I've done. If we click in, sorry, I'll click away from that. If we click in here, it just brings us right to the OneDrive file. And since this OneDrive file is, shared and others can modify it, well, maybe we're doing a lot of the work on that OneDrive file. Sorry, I haven't quite logged in, but that goes to the OneDrive file related to this task here, paying bills. So it's an Excel document. Since it's in OneDrive, if your whole team has access, we can all modify it. And now this kind of shows us the pay bills task and where we are. So what you can also do with this pay bills item is you can make it recurring, and that's what I've done with many. So we just keep changing the due date. Once it's done, we change the due date to maybe the 15th of the month or the 1st of the month. And this file always stays the same. We just keep updating it. The ownership might change, the status might change, the due date might change, but this same old pay bills task and the file link is going to be constant. So that might work in a lot of different scenarios. So we can see these are the columns. If you want to add another column, very easy to do. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was just go through a quick demo that I made here. So this one is called customer service. It really doesn't take long to make this demo. So in this demo, I just added a board, and we can do different things in the demo. So the first thing is the name of the item. What's the name of the item? Well, that's whatever you call it. So in this case, let's say I'm manually entering it here. I would call this, broken product. Now, since we're kind of building it from nothing, I can go through each part as you would normally. So you want to be able to assign this task to a person. So the way to assign this to a person is to just have person in here, but I always rename it. So when you make a new board, this entity customer service is called a board. It adds these things by default. So instead of having it as person, I would call this the owner, and that's the one who owns this item. Status is good. We can change the status as we need to. And then the date, well, I would rename this to the due date when we want to get this accomplished. Okay, and then we can put in other things. So something else we might want is we might want a long text description. So if we go searching here, we have a cool way of just typing there. So if we go text, we can put in long text, and this gives you a lot of space to write. We can also put in files. So we can see these are some of the main items right away. So if we put in files, this would be files that we attach in all various different ways, right? It could be a document, it could be a bunch of different varieties of things. So if something is if the product is broken, maybe you want them to add files here. Okay, and then maybe you also want a serial number, and serial numbers are not always perfect in terms of being just a number. It could be anything. So we just choose a text column, and then we call it the serial number, and we can add another date in here if we want, and we can call this planned completion date. So when will we get this customer service task done, right? So this would kind of be the goal. And then since it's a column, and you can widen these columns, maybe our due date internally is March 18th, but we really trying to get it done from the customer point of view, March 20th, right? So we have our due date internally, and we must complete it by March 20th. Give us a little bit of breathing room. And if we put in a description here, the part has a crack on the bottom and does not work. Okay. And then if we want, we can click in here and we can upload a file from your computer. Maybe it's an image of it. And then we can put in the serial number here, and let's just make up a serial number. So there's a serial number. which we may need with the manufacturer. And then we can just keep building from there. So that's cool. So we have these items, and you might say, wow, well, this just kind of looks like Excel. So, why is that so great? Well, the cool part of Monday is that there are many ways of organizing this information that make it far better than Excel, as I would say anyone would agree when they've used it. So the first thing I'd like to do is I'd like to just jump back to the admin tasks here. This is one that I created just for this demo. So we see the fields, the name of the item, who's the owner, the status of the task, the due date, if the client, if there's one, and then a link to a file or the file. So the beauty of having an item and a due date and an owner is you can click on My Work. All of your staff members can click here. They can look at My Work and they can say, wow, well, today I'm supposed to get this done. The due date is March 14th, and here's the task. And you can just open it right from your due date. This week, I'm supposed to get that done by this due date, and next week. Now, if we can also notice that there's something that's past due, right? So this item is past due, was supposed to be done previously. So sometimes what I'll do when I meet with my staff is we'll just simply look at these due dates and we'll change them, and we'll say, well, we've missed the deadline on this one. So let's, make it Friday. So when we click in Friday as the due date, it just moves it and we have nothing past due. Maybe it wasn't as important, so it gets pushed down, right? So when I do my meetings, maybe we have 20 or 30 items in My Work for each person. We look at the due dates, and you can see that it's sorted by who's doing the work, and the due date and the task. So you can basically do everything from here. So this is one of the cool parts of using this in general. Another cool part would be the view. So if we go back to admin, sorry, that's the workspace admin. We go to admin tasks. We can now go into a thing that I call views. So maybe you only want to see tasks that have a file or those kinds of things. So we can just go to filter. And we can't do this with a free product, but just take it from me. With filtering, we can create a view, and we can have perhaps just the items that are assigned to this owner. So if we want to go to admin tasks, we can create a view that just shows tasks assigned to this owner. They're very easy to set up. It's a matter of just clicking. You can also decide, maybe you just want to see in this view assigned to this owner, and the due date, is past due. So when you click into admin tasks, you can go to the view of Gabe past due. You click Gabe past view, it just shows you everything. So you get a quick update. The way that I actually manage it, because we have so many of these tasks, is we just go to My Work. And when we have our meetings, formal meetings, we can go into My Work. But obviously, if you want to know the status of what's going on, you can have a screenshot of this sent to you. And that's how you can understand how all of these admin tasks are being done. So that is views. Now, another interesting part here that I've started using recently myself is the thing called sub items. So if we go in here to bills, before we get to sub items, I should just mention, let's say you're working on a task and it's assigned to you and you're not done. Well, pay bills right here. You might say getting information on how to pay clients, Acme. So this is giving us a sense of, what is this person working on? Well, Gabe just now said getting information on how to pay Acme. So that's why the status is assigned. So you can go in and inspect. Now let's pretend you would like to notify someone. Well, you can say, oh, Gabe, I want you to notify, I want you to be notified. So this actually goes in my notifications in Monday, and I can show you that in a bit, but still need a few days to complete. Okay, so minus the typo. We go in there, and if we go to different aspects here, I may as well do a quick look. This is where a lot of the options are for Monday. You can see here quickly, there's an administration, teams, marketplace. There's much more to it. Although I don't really use much of that. Here's a way to invite members, and here's an update feed. So now I go in here. This is coming right from Monday. So I was mentioned. So you can see that because @Gabe is there, it shows up in my update feed. Okay. There are many others. You can go into all account updates, but right here we can just see what's going on in all updates and all tasks. Practically speaking, this takes a long time to do it. So normally you would just look for where you're mentioned to see what's actually going on. Okay, so if someone puts in @Gabe, you can go here and see where you're mentioned in an update on a task. So this is what Monday has done. The reason we're not seeing this is because it does have a bit of a lag. It might take a minute or two to show up, but it's usually never much longer than that. So this is the way to get notified and to kind of see what's going on. The other way of looking at it is through the notifications, unread, and I was mentioned and assigned to me. These are other ways. But again, my work takes all the trouble out of that. As long as you have the simple structure of assigning it to a person, having a due date, you can just use my work, which is what we do. So back in here, let's pretend that we needed to create some sub items. So it's cool to have these different items, but some things, as we know, may require different sub items to complete. So when we click here, we automatically have a place to put a sub item. So let's just pretend look up all unpaid bills, and it's you could imagine that this could be kind of instructions too if you're onboarding a person. Add bills to QuickBooks. And then finally, we would say get approval on what to pay. Now, if we want, we can just use the ownership based on this hierarchical top level, or we can, maybe one person has to do this task and someone else has to do another sub item, so that we kind of know in more complicated tasks who's doing what and the status and the due date. And these due dates do show up in my work. So I'll just do a quick one here. And if we go to my work, we should see that coming in. Yeah, and as I was saying before, it does take a little minute. So of course, when you do these demos, it never goes as quickly as you hope. So look up all unpaid bills. Let's give my work another try. Yeah, so there it is. Look up all unpaid bills. It's a sub item, right? It's a sub item of a task, and you can see the due date. So if we click to open, we can get right to it from here. We can do updates, etc. We can change the status. So you can basically do everything from here. You can attach files as well over here, and you can also take a look and see the activity on that sub item the same way it works with items. So the reason that we might want sub items is because the task has many steps, and instead of creating a long process manual, maybe you'd want to just show people how to do it with these sub items. And of course, they can have different owners if they're more complicated, et cetera, et cetera. So that's how sub items work. Those are great, especially like right now, we're going through a situation where we're working on streamlining our bookkeeping a little bit. So what we're doing is we're creating a thing called Bookkeeping Excellence. It's an item. And then we have about 10 or 15 sub items on how to streamline our bookkeeping. And everybody's who has a task assigned is seen as the owner with different due dates. So if I want to understand how my bookkeeping streamlining is going, I go to the item, I expand it, I see all the sub items, and I see the owner. I can look at the updates and the status and the due dates. So that is far better than what I had before. So if we move on to the next thing that I find quite amazing, this really sold me on it when I first started using it. So if we go to, one of the big challenges with the work that we do is getting input from, your clients. So what I used to do is I used to send Excels when I was doing IT projects and say, oh, please fill out this information. And I kind of made it as easy as I possibly could. And only the most disciplined clients would fill them out. So I ended up calling the clients, filling them out on my computer most of the time. And when I switched to using forms, which is just like a basic website form, everybody filled them out right away. And I, instead of sending the Excel to one person and gathering the information from them, or sending it out to each team member, and then I have 15 Excels I have to go through. All I do now is I send a link to a form to all the individuals I need it from. I make the questions super easy, and they just fill it out. And people mostly do it within 10-15 minutes because they want to provide the information there. Now, there's another couple really cool ways to provide information to Monday that might really blow you away and your customers will like, and I want to talk to you about that as well. Some of them can be done on mobile, which is great too. So let's make a form right now. So it's not actually that hard to make a form. So if we're going to go through the process here, just having, sorry. So what we do to make a form, we can't do a filter. Just bear with me as I remember. Oh yeah, new item. No, that would be. Okay, so it may be an issue with the not having the full product version, but as I understood it, you were able to make a form. Yeah, I keep going to filter. You were able to make a form with this free version. This is how I remember it. Default item values, conditional coloring. No, so these are not them. If you bear with me a little bit here, I'll just get that information. Some of these things in Monday are a little hard to locate, especially the important things like what I consider important is making a form. So just trying to remember where it is, and I've done it so many times I just kind of forget where it is. So if you give me a moment, I'll get that for you. Just looking it up over here. And I'll just say a little more about forums. Is right now, it took a little while um, for me to understand how to make forms, but then all of a sudden, once I figured it out, I could just go right away and make the forms. Yeah, so there's been, you know what, I'm gonna hold off on that for right now, and I'll move on to something else that's maybe equally cool. So let's pretend that you wanted to create, um, you wanted to get information from your clients, and you wanted them not to fill out a form because maybe that's difficult for them. In some customer service scenarios, they don't want to do that, right? So instead of a form, maybe what we would do is we would ask them to email us the information, and it has the capability. Monday has the capability to do that. So I'm just going to go through that process here. Okay, not there. Okay, well, let's start out with something a little simpler, something I know I can do. So right now, MailCheck has a place for updates, right? So we can converse about the updates. Now, maybe this is something that you're doing constantly, and you need to update it constantly with your staff or even with uh, outside customers. So let's pretend it's pick up a signed contract, right? Maybe you have a whole bunch of customers who sign a contract, and then you'd like them to email you once it's signed. So what we do is we create this email address right here. Okay, so that's an email address that we can use in our Outlook. And from there, with this email address, we are able to have them create an update into our system. So it's not a pretty email address, but that is the email address. And you can imagine that if you put this on a form or a link or whatever, people click it, add it to their request. They just send the email there. Okay. So this is an email address. We can tell because of the @ symbol. So if I am to do this right now, then what I'm going to get out of it is people are going to send me an email to that email address, and it's going to automatically put in an update here. So when an update goes in here, it'll be coming from someone. You'll see their full email, and it'll say, "Hi, Gabe, I've signed the contract. You can pick it up anytime you want." And I can be notified when these updates come in. And so now we just tell our clients, "Oh, when you're done signing the contract, just email me here, and I'll be able to, you know, see that you've signed the contract. It's very quick. I'm going to know right away, and I can be notified." So when I'm notified, maybe what I'm going to do, is I'm going to go to their location and pick up the signed contract. So right now for them, it's just an email saying I'm done. I get notified, boom, I can go sign the contract. The other amazing thing about this process is that we can apply automations. And with automations, not part of the free Monday.com, but with automations, when an update comes in, that update can do actions like saying, "Oh, this update came in," email one of your staff saying, "Go pick up the signed contract." And the beauty of it is it's automatic, it always works, and it happens almost in real time. So I can't show that in this view, but that's one of the amazing parts, the automations. So this is the way we can send an email by just providing the email address to our client. And once again, well, how do you figure out what it is? You just go here and then you copy this email address. It always stays the same. There is a way to use a custom email address as well. It's a little bit more complicated. So normally I just use this. So this is great for processes where you're trying to gather information, because now the person can just send an email and it just puts in an update. So if we're monitoring this item, all those emails that come in, all that data comes in here. And that's how customers want to do things nowadays. They don't want to log in. They don't want to use portals. They want to do things as quickly as possible. For them, sending an email is almost one of the quickest things that we can do. So I did talk about automation. I want to go into it a little bit. The great thing about automation is that everything that we kind of want to do without having to click. So if we think about Excel, we always have to click in Excel to do things. I mean, there are other ways of dealing with it, but when we're talking about using Excel, we don't think we're going to have automation. We're going to have to put in a lot of work to automate tasks if we compare to the job that Monday.com does. So the other beautiful thing about automation is it's dead easy. So let's take a situation that we use all the time. Let's create a custom automation, which is something that is a lot easier than it looks. So I think I'm waiting for Monday here, because when I did this, when I was preparing, it did give me the chance to do the automation. So when this happens, okay, when the status changes to something, but let's take one a little bit more complicated. Let's say that the person has a form and they create the item. So when an item is created, Okay, so let's say your customer fills out the form, an item gets created. Then you'd like this item, like when this happens, when a new item is created, you'd like to move it to a group. Not really. Notify somebody. Maybe you want to notify someone, and you can see it already has a whole bunch of information. Hey, item assignee, it's so and so. And if we like this, then we can mark, we're happy with this, but we can add in other things or change it around. So now we have the notification. And who are we notifying? Well, we would have a few team members, but in this case, we would just say Gabe, right? So then you create the automation. Every time an item gets created, and if it's coming from a form, that's how an item gets created, it would notify me. So that's pretty sweet, right? Now let's talk about another thing you'd like it to do. Well, when an item is created, maybe what you'd like it to do is to assign it to a person. So you want to assign or replace it to me as the assignee. So when a new item is created in a certain group, it's always assigned to me as the owner. And I have this going with some administrative tasks for my team. So now we have this in place. Let's just imagine when a new item is created in a certain group, it's always assigned to the owner. Then, of course, it's fairly easy for us to just say, I'll just kind of start again. When an item is assigned to me, email me, right? So when person is assigned, which person? I only have one. So the owner is assigned. Then do this. Notify. Okay, we're good with that. Notify, that's a notification to the assigned member. So I've gone through that quickly, but when the item comes in, it gets assigned to an owner. Then when the owner is assigned, it's going to notify the person. So we fully automated the whole concept of an email coming in, creating an item, and then getting assigned to the right person and getting assigned to, getting a notification to that right person. Now we don't use notifications like crazy. At least I don't. I focus fully on my work. So if you look in at the automations here, there's just tons of them. Probably the easiest way to do it is to start by creating your own automation. They have some pre-built ones. When an item is created, assign a creator as a person. When status changes to something, notify someone. We have an inventory process that when I drop inventory off to one of my staff, I change the status and it emails them saying, oh, this inventory has been dropped off. So this is the beauty of automation. And I think anybody using Monday would definitely want to use automation down the road. Another thing to talk about briefly is just the idea of integration. So we can set up Monday when we change the status. Like I said, if I change the status here to escalate, it can automatically send an email out to someone to say, oh, this item has been escalated. And when the item has been escalated, that email goes out, right away. So maybe these are emergency situations. In our case, we have urgent requests that we want to complete the same day. And the way that works for us is a little different. So what happens is I have a way to create an emergency request through email or a form. So if I create the emergency request through a form, I can specify which person the emergency request goes to. When that happens, they get an email right away saying urgent request. We want you to complete it by the end of the day. And then if they update it and reassign it to me, I get updated about that item and I get to see what they said and what happened. Maybe I have to add more information. So it comes right to my email. I go back into that urgent request. I add the information. I reassign it. It goes into their email, notifies them, and we get those tasks done quite quickly, which is something we always needed for admin tasks. So that would be the way that we work with integration, just as a simple way. When we change the status, it sends out an email. But really, there are tons more I could say about integration, but I want to skip past that a little bit. If we talk about templates, there are lots of templates. So if we can go quickly, where is it here? Yeah, if we want to choose from templates, There are just tons of templates. I tried using these myself, and I couldn't quite find one that I thought worked for me. So why don't we just look at this one right here, just to show you how quick and easy it is to set up. And if you're always using the same kind of method in Monday with the assigned person and the due date, it all just flows together. So we can see, we have initiative 1, we have an owner, we have a goal. Okay, so we have the brainstorm column, and we have the brief, 3 main goals of this, priority, and the type of task. And then we have a timeline. You see, it's not a due date, but it's a timeline. We have budget, and Monday works with numbers as well. So all of this feeds in to make it a quick start if you have something that matches a potential template. Another thing is, let's pretend that you had information that you wanted to import from Excel. I had tons of information that I imported into Excel a while back, and it was mostly a bunch of lists of clients that we wanted to call. So the first thing I did is I looked at my Excel document. So that Excel document had the first name, last name, phone number, email address, and then maybe the date of the work that we did. I went in and I created a board that matched it. So I put in the proper columns that all matched up to make it easy. The key thing there was I left the item, I just left it alone, and I knew that was going to be the person's company name. So when I created that, when I got the Excel, I made sure that the Monday board matched. So company name, first name, last name, email, phone number, last time we did work. And I just had to take that Excel and import it into the board, and clicked on and make sure the names of the Excel column, company name was aligned with item. First name was aligned with what was already in that board, first name, last name with last name, etc. Once I saw that, I clicked OK. It imported maybe, 200 or 300 different contacts in there. And then after that, I just added a column to say, the status of our contact. Did we call them? Did we email them? And always built into Monday, there's a place for updates. I can add in another column for due date. So it was very quick and easy to import from Excel. Of course, Excel is super easy to change and modify and move data around. And then once you've lined up that data in Excel the way you want, you make a board that matches and you just import it. So the process itself to import, if we go in and we look at more actions, okay, sorry, I believe it is in here. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes, sorry about this, sometimes I'm a little, yeah, I'm gonna have to put in where this is. I don't want to waste people's time. Okay, here we go. Okay. So we go to the board options, more actions, and then we can export out of Monday into Excel, which is cool. And we can click to import items. And then what we do is I always browse to my file, Excel or CSV, and then we go from there and match up. And it's going to say, well, the item is going to be matched with which column. So the item is the name of the item. So I put that as the company name. And then it's just going to put first name on Excel, matching to the board, first name, last name on Excel to board. So you can just say, okay. You say, okay, it imports all the data. It makes its own group. You can't put it into an existing group, but it will create its own group. So each time you have a giant Excel full of information, you can just import it, put it in the group, and start working with it. So one thing I touched on was, how are we going to handle the, reporting and what's going on with the whole situation here with Monday, like what tasks are being done and what tasks are not being done. So another important thing, as the consumer of the Monday, as the owner, the person who needs to see the reporting, like who did what, when, and how, and all that. My work is what's what I like best, because we have a lot of tasks in a lot of different areas. My work lets us just understand which ones are past due. When I have meetings with staff, sometimes I just go to the past dues and we reset priorities on the due dates, and we look at what is supposed to be done today. We reset priorities on the due dates. That means some of them stay to be done today, and some of them are going to get done, next week or 2 weeks. And sometimes I look at the task and I say, well, we can do this. It doesn't matter when we do it. Let's just call it June 1st, which is months away. And then the pressure's off, and it really makes people feel better instead of just having a giant list of tasks and no idea which one is prioritized. So the way to quickly prioritize is to me anyway, use my work, have a quick meeting with people, go through it quickly, look at things that are past due, change the due dates. We can, of course, you can always do that with Excel. Your staff can send you, screenshots of my work. You can go back and just say, all the 5 past dues, these are the due dates that we should set for them. And that's another way of doing it. I've encouraged my staff to just change the due dates as they see fit, so that, they're never really too far behind. They don't really have that many tasks that are past due. So we want the information to be meaningful. We don't want to have too much to do. We want to be able to look and understand from the owner point of view, what's happening with all these different tasks. There's way more that we can do than just admin, but that's what I wanted to highlight, because that's where I started. That's kind of what I know. Okay, and then the last thing I will want to talk about, just have to get out of this. Okay, so click away, and I got out of that. So the last thing to talk about would be another cool thing, which is called a dashboard. So the dashboard idea is like a reporting idea, and we get to pick which board we want to get a report on. Now these dashboards work great. So let's just take the admin tasks for ourselves. We're going to choose the admin tasks. I can only do one with this free version. Now we've connected this dashboard to the admin tasks, right? So now we want to add a widget. There's a whole bunch of widgets here. Obviously, these things are really amazing, depending on what's in your group. Just to make things simple, I'll just choose a table, and what it does is it shows our admin tasks. And if we choose to filter, okay, sorry, we can't filter in the free version, but if we choose to filter, we can pick on certain things, and you can see this thing is very flexible, so we can just expand it. If you had a paid version, you can look at a whole bunch of different boards, but in here we could filter and maybe just look at this group, the one-off tasks, with this owner and that due date, if it's past due or if it's not yet past due. And then when we go into the new dashboard, maybe it would be called, one-off tasks assigned to Gabe that are past due. So we just click there, boom, we see. Now, obviously, if we have 10 boards connected here, we can get a lot more out of it. With the free version, I can only show you one. But if we had all the boards connected and the view was, status of Gabe's tasks, the only filter there is that we're just going to see when Gabe is the owner, it'll show everything all in one view here. And as I mentioned before, there are other more fancy ones, such as I tried this battery one, but it didn't do it didn't work for me. What's assigned, what's empty. Of course, if you have things where it makes sense, it's a way to quickly visualize. And you can see it's pretty easy to change all these things. So again, with the free version, you're only getting that. Now, I keep talking about the free version and the paid version. So why don't we look? Well, we have 200 items that we get. So let's talk about the the free version. So in the free version, you get 200 items. Each item is like a row. So pay bills is one row. You get 200 of those. You don't get automations. You do get forms. There's a bunch of other limitations. So I would suggest you start out with the free. But once you realize the value of it, like you may do, which I did, then we can see here. Let's switch that to monthly. Maybe you want to just start out monthly like I did, and the minimum we can do is 3 seats. So monthly minimum 3 seats, we're talking about $51 to get access to these kinds of things. Unlimited free viewers, that means you could have 10 people outside your organization looking. Unlimited boards, more templates, more column types. But the one that you would probably prefer would be getting this one standard, because now you can use automations and integrations. What happened to me is I used this too much. I started to hit the wall with automations and I had to bump up to this, but I was happy for it because obviously the automations are cutting down all the time. So I really am happy that you've been able to spend the time looking here. And now I'm seeing someone is writing in the comments here, automations are the best way to keep people alert of the task assigned. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, that's pretty great. And you know, one great way to start this whole process is to actually do it in Excel or take what you have, because you know that process. Get the monday.com free trial, put it in there, do it very simple. Just have the, you always have the item. That's the name of the item. Then you're going to have the due date, the person who's assigned, like the owner. You might want to put in a file to reference, what you're working on, or just put in a text column for a description. Just start there. And as you use it, you can just move over the task. And I can tell you right now, every time I tell my staff to use Excel, they're always not very happy about it, because they know it could be better in Monday. But what we do sometimes is we start out a process in Excel, we use it for a couple weeks, and then we really do understand the process. We don't have to go talking about it back and forth. And then she can either import the Excel document into Monday, or she can just do it manually. And it really takes, I don't know, it takes 5-10 minutes. And then now she's the owner of that board. She's the one who knows how it works, tells us how to use it. And, the administrative person should really be leading a lot, or most aspects of Monday. So that's all I have for you today. But I wanted to let you know I appreciate your time. And if you had more questions about monday.com, let me know and I'll try to answer as best I can. I am going to update the description or put in a comment with a few more links that might be useful. But the best way that I know to quickly get accountability and not let any of your tasks slip through the cracks is with monday.com. I have barely touched on what it can do, but some of the key topics I think that are important to just summarize here. It automates very well. It integrates. You can build upon it. So when you change a status, it can send out an email to someone. You can get information from clients or vendors or from your own staff through forms. They can just send an email and create an item. They can send an email and it'll add an item to something that you're doing on a recurring basis. So it's really easy to get the information in there. It's really easy to assign and handle the information. It's really easy to look at the status and understand who's doing what. So that's what I have to say about monday.com for administrative tasks. As I said before, it goes well beyond administrative tasks, but I think this might be the best place to start. It's probably the easiest, and it can just fill in the gaps where things might be slipping through. And if you're getting customers asking you, why didn't you do this, or why is this taking so long, you may benefit from using this system. Okay, well, thank you for your time, and I hope you have a good day.